Somewhat out of the blue, immigration reform reared its head again this week in Washington. It's a topic that hadn't been heard from for a while. It's worth looking at what's going on behind the scenes to explain this. First of all, what happened? Well, the White House put out a statement this week saying that a year ago the Senate introduced legislation to comprehensively reform the immigration system. That passed the Senate, and the White House statement took House Republicans to task for not picking up the bill and passing it there in pretty tough language. Then the president called Eric Cantor, the #2 Republican in the House. They had a conversation. Congressman Cantor put out his own statement about the president's views on immigration, also using pretty tough language, saying the president shouldn't be criticizing people he's trying to get things done with. That's not helpful at all, and putting a sort of a downward cast on where immigration was headed. What's really going on behind the scenes here? Well, I think several things. One is, I think the White House does believe that there is a chance yet this year to get immigration reform done, and the chance comes about now because they have thought for a while in the White House and in Congress, actually, that if there was going to be a moment to move, it was going to be now, when primary deadline filing deadlines had passed, and Republicans in the House would figure out whether they were going to face challenges in the primaries, potentially from people who would be critical of them if they supported immigration reform. That moment is past, and so this might be the time when some Republicans who were skittish before might be willing to sign on to immigration reform. And secondly, the Journal will be reporting in Friday's paper that House Speaker John Boehner and some other Republican leaders have been telling donors and industry officials who are in favor of immigration reform they still intend to try to move some legislation this year. This is not dead yet. And third and finally, if nothing happens, and I still think there's a good chance nothing will happen, the White House certainly wants to have an issue, even if it can't have an immigration bill, which is to say it wants to take credit for trying, and it wants to make sure Republicans are the ones blamed if nothing happens.